Hello, everybody. Welcome to the program. It is Monday, December 30th. This is This Day. I'm Michael Taylor, along with Bree Cox-Kennedy.
Hello, everyone.
Hope you guys had a great Christmas. We were just talking about ours, and Bree's ready for New Year's. She's wearing sparkly shoes. She's upset nobody can see them, but
maybe you can see my sparkly earrings.
She's getting ready for a big fun time.
I'm actually not going out this year, so I'm celebrating it a little bit along the way.
Oh my goodness! All right.
Yes. We have a very special show for you today. Join us as we travel the world through the lens of National Geographic photographer Jason Edwards. We're also going to give you an opportunity to win a signed copy of Icebergs to Iguanas.
All right, stay tuned for that. That should be fun. Right now, though, we want to keep you informed, and we got some movies coming up on New Year's Day for you. We won't be here, well, no show, but we got some great ones lined up. The Big Short, back in 2015, Christian Bale and Steve Carell star in that one about the crash of 2008.
That was a great movie. And after that, we have A Star is Born showing at 12 p.m. And then after that, Sully at 5 p.m.
The Miracle on the Hudson.
Really good movie.
Great
also.
movie.
What an
Tom
amazing
Hanks.
pilot he was. Wow.
All right, let's take a look at the forecast. We got some cool temperatures, and that's kind of going to last throughout the week. Then we get a little bit of a warm-up on Thursday, actually hit in the 70s. So a little bit of warm-up, mostly sunny, probably just a little clouds in the morning, but really 60s, and we kind of warm up on Wednesday, warm up on Thursday, a little bit warm on Friday, but mostly 60s, nice fall-like and winter-like now that we're in winter-like temperatures out there. It's all messed up.
Let's take a look at the sunrise-sunset segment. Speaking of National Geographic, I took this shot in Masai Mara, Kenya, way before I ever met Jason.
Wow.
So that is my Nat Geo hiding elephant. Sunrise this morning was at 6:55. No wonder I slept in. Sunset will be at 4:52 p.m.
And if you'd like to send us a picture, you can do that too, right, Bree?
Please email us your photo to be featured on our Sunrise Sunset segment. Email that to Laguna Woods Village TV at gmail.com. And of course, send us your name, where the photo was taken from, and in a horizontal format, please.
Bree's putting our dog and cat pictures to shame with that elephant picture. All right.
Well,
we got some meetings to tell you about. Then when we come back, we're going to be, Bree's going to be talking to Jason Edwards from National Geographic. Stay with us.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
Something is happening tonight at the Barclay. The Barclay in Irvine. Live entertainment, you don't want to miss it. Tonight at the Barclay.
Imagine taking a trip on a National Geographic jet, traveling over 36,000 miles, visiting 6 continents and 12 countries. And did I remind you, it's a 26-day turnaround. Pretty amazing, right? Now imagine being a National Geographic photographer and spending your life doing that, taking fabulous photos along the way. We are welcoming my very good friend and National Geographic photographer, Jason Edwards, to the show. He is going to tell us about his amazing adventures around this beautiful planet, and a very warm welcome to Jason.
G'day, Bree.
Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me in studio. Wonderful.
Jason, you've traveled all the way from Australia to be here with us today.
Yeah.
And you have brought a gorgeous gift with you. You have brought this amazing book with you.
Thank you.
Icebergs to Iguanas. And you are going to sign a copy for one of our lucky winners.
That we are. And you don't even have to come to Australia. I've come to you to sign it. So
isn't that amazing?
How much easier can it get than that?
Icebergs to Iguanas by Jason Edwards. Send your email to Laguna Woods Village TV at gmail.com. In the subject line, put National Geographic entry. And send us your name and your phone number, and you'll be entered to win a beautiful signed copy of Icebergs to Iguanas. Now, I would really like to tell our viewers how you and I met. And it was indeed on a private National Geographic jet trip around the world.
This is true.
It is true. So we actually started in Iguazu Falls, which is a waterfall system of 250 waterfalls, the largest on the planet, right?
Great.
It was bordering Brazil and Argentina. Do you remember that morning?
I very much remember that morning. I remember that morning because, like every day of my life, I think I almost missed the bus and the plane on the same morning because it was just so spectacular. And you're right, it's the widest waterfall on Earth. You can't even see to the other end.
No, you can't. Well, you have to get to the other end, you actually have to go to another country.
Yeah, that
right?
is true. That is true.
We literally, we were staying in Brazil, and we had to get on a bus to go to the Argentina side.
That's right.
To see the Devil's Throat side.
Correct. That's
Remember
right.
we did that, and it was pouring down rain. We were soaking wet.
It was hard to know where the waterfall began and the rain ended. But but you know, it's warm rain and it's so spectacular. And that rainforest that surrounds that waterfall is a biodiversity hotspot. You know, it's one of the last remnants of that type of rainforest left in South America.
Yes, and there were jaguars in the forest there.
Correct. Yes.
In the rainforest.
Yeah, it's an amazing pocket of wildlife and plant species. Yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous. And we had the absolute privilege of being able to do a figure 8 over Iguazu Falls.
Yeah, that's right.
Remember, our pilots got special permission.
Special clearance and
special clearance.
And I can't even keep it straight with someone with an American accent says clearance, because all I remember is Flying High as we knew it, Clarence. Remember that movie back in the day? So I spent so much time on planes that I think you called it Air America or something here, but we did have that special permission, and it also showed just how vast that landscape is, and over millions and millions of years, the river cut its way through.
Absolutely gorgeous, yes. And then next on our stop was Easter Island.
That's right, yeah.
And that's where I got my first National Geographic photography session.
Yeah, that's right.
I think my camera was acting up.
Yeah, maybe
that's when my camera was acting up, because I wasn't getting the correct shutter speed or something was going on.
No, that's right.
I think I was upset that my iPhone was taking better pictures than my Nikon.
But the great thing with you, though, is you were determined the whole journey to get better with the camera. Some people just give up, but you were determined. And these shots here that are on the screen, they're the Moai, obviously, you know, the ancient Moai statues, which were made famous in Night at the Museum.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, they were made famous there. So this is Tongariki, and we went for the dawn. You were a trooper. You got up early.
What did we get up at 3:30 in the morning?
So it was early. Yeah,
it's like a 2-hour drive.
Yeah, it was. But we had a great morning because we had some cloud and we had some clear sky. So when that sun came up, there was some contrast and things of interest. Well, sometimes it's not like that.
Those photos are unretouched.
Yeah,
that is exactly the color of the sky. You know, turning from black to sort of that purple, that deep purple hue, to blues, to the oranges and reds, and I mean, what a spectacular morning.
And it's interesting too because there's something spiritual about Easter Island.
Absolutely.
You know, Rapa Nui, you can't go there and see all of these moai sticking out of the ground unfinished and carved into the cliff face, and then see them watching the dawn and not be moved by that.
I know, absolutely. I know friends that have been back there 3 and 4 times because of that. Because of the energy and the vibration that they get from being on the island.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah. So we made our way around the planet. You know, some of my most favorite memories are of you and I and a couple of the others in the game viewer when we were trekking that lion.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
There we go. And you might recall Serengeti's my soul place. You know, that's you know, I love that location.
Well, how can you not? I mean, it was all I could do to hold your feet to the ground of that game viewer because you were ready to crawl out, and you were either going to go under the game viewer hoping that lion was not going to be disturbed, which I don't think he would have been. He was putting on a show for us.
Yeah.
I think we were there for about an hour taking pictures of him.
100%. And I mean, I've spent my entire life working in wilderness areas and many, many decades with big cats. So not that something can't go wrong, but that was a great morning, and you can see this picture here that worked. It really was working. Yeah.
Well, I think he flipped 2 or 3 times, didn't he?
He
just
did,
was putting on his little show for us.
Yeah, and also too, this is a male that has a beautiful face that hasn't been destroyed by years of battle yet, because they often wind up scarred, and because life's tough as a lion.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of our stops was in Chiang Mai, Thailand. And that was fun because such a dichotomy from taking pictures of beautiful animals to now we're switching to statues, buildings, trims, and you had me really focus in on some architectural elements of one of the temples, which I thought was, it wasn't something that I had considered, but I think you look at perspectives with sort of a feeling of texture. Like, what is that texture going to represent in my photo, and how is that going to show up?
Correct, yeah. I'm always looking, when people take photographs, we always get, myself included, caught up in the whole. But dissecting the scene is really important. So if you're a photographer, look for the minutiae, the small areas, like you say, the temple details or the veins in a leaf or something like that. And this is us here in Chiang Mai, and it was wonderful. It was steamy, remember, and super hot. But when you're documenting faith, and these faiths have been going for thousands of years, so there's so much to see. The more you look, the more you see.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. That's like when we're like examining our face, right? Where'd that come from?
But no, it's true.
Which, I mean, this trip was pretty hard on our bodies, right? So I'm looking at the photos, and as we're progressing, there's some in Egypt that I look like, oh my gosh, I haven't slept in a month.
No, that's right.
I mean, we probably didn't sleep.
I didn't go to sleep.
Well, I think that was coming off. I think Egypt was coming off of the Serengeti, Tanzania, and we didn't have showers. Well, we had a sprinkler, right?
That's right.
We were glamping for 4 nights.
That's right. Yeah.
And
I mean, the thing is too is that this is a great shot, and the climate changes everything.
Yes.
So when it changes your skin, it changes your body chemistry, all of these sorts of things. And because I've been in the field for so long, my body just sort of goes there, and then I look haggard, and then I go home and I lose 10 years off my face. But when I'm in the field, I'm aging by the minute. Yeah.
Well, these pictures, especially of me there in in front of the pyramids, I'm like puffy. I probably had wine the night before or something.
I think there was wine every night. I think there was pretty much wine every night. But it is, and the thing is too is that when you're changing time zones, it's hard to adjust. Your body, it's not just the jet lag, it's the circadian rhythms.
Absolutely.
And so we were bouncing, as you said, we circumnavigated Earth. That's literally, we circumnavigated Earth. And so Serengeti, where we were, as you know, it's a long-term project for me. It's been going for decades. And that'll be a book of its own some point. The life-changing image for me, this image on the screen now, that was the last afternoon of a 3-month shoot in Africa, multiple countries. And that herd had been crossing the river, and lions have been grabbing them and everything. And I left that park as a changed person.
I saw your photo there, Jason. I was just, my jaw dropped. I mean, the coloring, the giraffe, the composition, the wildebeest, I mean, just spectacular.
And like we worked on with your photography, it's less is more. There's only 2 frames in this sequence. I shot this in 1992. That's how long ago. I was a boy when I shot this, basically a teenager. And so I took 1 frame where the giraffe was coming into the scene left of the tree, and then I just waited because the shoot was almost over. I was out of film. And then when the giraffe hit there and the god of photography stepped in and everything worked and the light was great, and it stayed with me as probably my most memorable shot as far as an emotional impact. Absolutely. So that was with the book. I sort of thought, what stories? That might have been 3 weeks. The shoot might have been 3 weeks. The indigenous children in the desert, was 2 or 3 weeks. Others have been decades in the making, but it had to have an emotional connection for me.
Absolutely, and it comes through in these photos.
Thank you.
Absolutely
Yeah.
spectacular.
Yeah, and then I went back through my field journals. I've always kept field journals, 30 years of journals. So I went back to those shoots to look for these journal entries and behind the scenes and everything. I wrote the text, and that was quite cathartic. I mean, revisiting my life in imagery, but also in the words that I wrote when I was 18 or 22 or whatever the case might be. You know, that was quite surreal for me to relive that experience so personally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And now you don't have to wait because we have digital photography, right?
Well, yeah.
So you don't have to. You don't run out of film.
No, well, this is true, but we also shoot too much. Remember, we talked about this a lot.
100%.
You know, and people love photography, and I'm sure there's people watching who are enormous photographers. But my advice is less is more. Remember, we worked on that. Yep, less is more. So you don't need 1,000 frames. You just need a few
I have
good ones.
1,000 frames of the moai that morning, and
That's right.
they're all the same,
Yeah, that's
with
right.
the exception of maybe a little bit of the light changing.
Yes.
But I can't delete them.
No.
So now they're just taking up space. So yes, less is more.
Less is more.
So what's the most dangerous situation that you've ever found yourself in?
Wow, you'd have to narrow it down to a country or a continent. I've got no genetic DNA for self-preservation. But I mean, I think probably, and it's, I was hunted by a hippo one night, working in a swamp in Africa. And so I was there with a villager, and we were in a dugout canoe, and they chased us into the reeds, and they were trying to smash their way in, and we couldn't get out. And we were there all night. And
So scary.
But you know, I've had to run from lions. I've had to do a lot of those sorts of things.
Well, yeah, if you want to climb out of the game viewer and go sit with them, you have to run from them.
That is true. But I had you to document it if I was getting chased.
Yes.
I'd be going, shoot this, Bree, shoot this. And
The photos that I've taken of you that they're showing on the screen are the ones I want to keep, not the other kind.
No, that's the other thing. But you know, the interesting thing is physically, I've had so many diseases and infestations and everything.
That's something I hadn't even considered.
No, so I've had lava living behind my eyes, and I had lava in my ears, burrowing into my ear canals this year, a couple of months ago.
Really?
But you know, I've had MERS, which is 82% fatal, and brucellosis and bilharzia and swine flu and bird flu, and arms reattached, fingers cut off and reattached, and the back of my head stitched back on, and discs punched out of my neck, and broken bones and everything, and split stomachs, and all of those kinds of things which happen from impacts, and sometimes animals or sometimes humans. It just depends. So when I look back at my career, because I've spent my whole life working with wildlife and in Indigenous communities, when I think, there's been so many close calls in that scenario, but the long-lasting damage, or the things that take the longest to recover, are all of these microorganisms, or the surgeries, or something goes wrong.
Interesting.
And it can take months. I mean, I had 3 blood viruses after one shoot on the Bolivian border. And I lost 12 months of my memory. So I had 12 doctors, and I was unconscious. I don't even know how. I was in an isolation ward in Australia. I don't even know how many weeks I was in there. But every 15 seconds I had an electric pulse going through my body, and it fried my brain so severely that I have no memory of 6 months before the hospital and no memory of 6 months after.
Is that
just
right?
like wiped 12 months. And so the surgeons were pretty concerned. But when I went back to that area of South America, and I was walking with someone from the village who I had no memory I'd ever met before. And I sort of said, wow, we need to shoot this and this. Wow, that's amazing. And then finally he said, but you've shot all that before. And I went, I've never been here before in my life.
Oh my gosh.
And he said, what are you talking about? You've been here before. And I went, what? And so we had to piece it back together because my brain
really
had wiped
scary.
it out. Yeah.
That is really, especially being so far away from home.
Yeah, well, thankfully it happened. I went into hospital 8 hours after landing from that shoot.
Oh, good.
So thankfully I got back, because in those places, if you go to hospital, you wind up with no kidneys. So
They'll sell them on the black market.
100%. Sell my eyes, sell my kidneys.
So conversely, what's been the most magical experience?
Yeah.
And you can't say me on the private jet.
No, well, that's you. You're up there. You're in top five. But I mean, moments like I just described before with the giraffe and wildebeest. But I also remember there's life-changing moments when you go to Antarctica for the first time. And it is like nowhere else. It sounds like a cliche, but to watch the subtlety of the light move across the landscape is so incredible. And as a photographer, you really have to get the math right to get the exposure right, and then you have to work on your composition. And so I remember that quite vividly. But also too, I was in the Amazon, and there's a story on the Amazon in the book, and I could hear this roaring, like the largest train you've ever heard.
The morning of our last morning in the Serengeti?
No, this is in the, yeah, that's exactly right. The line's in near the tents.
That was crazy.
That's right. But, you know, it was one of those things, and I thought, that sounds like a train, but it couldn't have been. I was in the middle of the Amazon.
Iceberg.
45 minutes later, a wall of water, finally. So for at least, I don't know how long it was going before I heard it, but at 45 minutes later, it just got deafening and more deafening. And I put my hand out from underneath the bamboo I was hiding under, and I couldn't see my hand. The wall of water was so intense. And then 25 minutes later, that front moved on, and the night erupted in insect life and steam and humidity you can't even imagine, because everything was so wet, and a million insects came out. It was staggering, you know. So
that sounds surreal.
It was surreal, because you can't imagine that much water is possible, even like Iguazu, more than Iguazu. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Wish you would have been able to get that on video.
Well, no, back, you know, like if you stood out in it, and it was like you could barely breathe with the humidity and the amount of water falling from the sky. It was so intense.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what's the most difficult part about storytelling through photography?
Yeah. That is a fantastic question. I'll come back. No. Come back here with it. But I mean, I think probably for people, storytelling is, how do you connect someone who wasn't there to your experience?
Absolutely.
And so you and I have a shared experience. We travelled the globe together. So when we look at your pictures or my pictures where we were together, we can relate to that. We can remember it over a glass of wine. We know the temperature, we know the smells, we know the sound. So in storytelling, in photography, you have to remember that the person who's looking at your pictures was not there. They're not eating that food in Chiang Mai. They can't smell the coriander and the lime and everything like that.
Right.
They haven't had to do the walk or the hike or get up early or anything like that. So when you're doing your compositions, you want to lead people in. You know, have the lines leading into a picture. Don't have anything very, very close to the edges, because that draws the eye out. So when I'm doing it, change the angle. Remember, we did a lot of that. Get down low, stand on a chair, get up high, and all of these compositional elements that then people go, oh, now I'm in there. I'm in that story. That's the hardest thing.
Them in.
Yeah, what draws them in.
Yeah. So what's the most bizarre type of transportation you've had to take on your journeys?
Oh, wow, I have done it all. I wouldn't say it was transportation, but I actually had a humpback whale come up underneath me at one point. And
did you just catch a ride?
It was just, I had my hands on the back of this humpback whale, and the humpback whale was just basically looking for a massage, but I wasn't.
He was looking for one.
Yeah, that's right. But I mean, you know, it's interesting, because there's probably not a form of transport, or not from yak to helicopter to whatever, that I haven't done. But I remember being in the Middle East, in a desert valley, looking for ancient Roman statues, and these messages got passed down by the Bedouins through the valleys. You know, everyone's yelling, and then they said, "You're meant to be in the town. There's some government officials you're meeting," and I was so far away. So next thing you know, you do camel, don't you? And I said, yeah, for sure.
Gosh.
And I'm in the ruins where Indiana Jones, they filmed that scene. I jump down, I get out of the desert gorge, there's a camel, I've got my turban on, and I'm riding through the world's most amazing ruins at sunset, with cameras over my shoulders, no one to film it, no one to shoot it, galloping with all of these Bedouins living in the cliffs, yelling at this white guy with the turban and the cameras running along. And I'm sitting there thinking, it was amazing. I'm thinking, Indiana Jones has got nothing on me, you know.
No,
so yeah,
absolutely
it was an amazing opportunity. Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you get ready for those types of expeditions? I mean, you must go on so many that change directions. You know, you thought you were going into one type of scenario, and all of a sudden you find yourself in some. How do you prepare for that?
So the problem with the clothing, and you would know this, you just traveled the globe, you know, you've got to have things for hard work, you know, the right kind of boots and lightweight pants and clothes that don't sweat too much, otherwise you dehydrate so fast. But then I might go straight from there to the Himalaya. where it's minus 20 or Antarctica or something like that.
Right.
So I have a whole wardrobe of clothing and boots for different climates. And then the camera gear is the camera gear, and I buy gear that just can survive those climatic conditions. But I might have to take more batteries or extra bodies, camera bodies, in case they die. I'm always killing them, or lenses. So the kit goes up, but if I'm doing underwater work, there's a whole separate underwater work kit with cameras and dive tanks and all of that kind of thing. So if I get home with enough time before I turn around, then all the gear has to be rebuilt and all the clothes have to go in and get serviced and things like that. So a little bit of planning helps, but it is handy that I don't feel the weather. So if it's,
That's right, you wear shorts the entire
the
trip.
whole time, yeah. So if it's minus 22, my body just says, okay, I'll run to minus 22. If it's 120 Fahrenheit, then I'll run to 120. I'm lucky like that.
You've been really able to navigate those waters because of your ability to adjust to any climate, any time zone.
Yes, correct.
Right?
And food.
You just go right on into it. It's just another day.
It's just another day. And I mean, one of the things that I've tried to do in my career is value the privilege of it. I mean, and we talked about that, didn't we? We're getting these opportunities to go to these places, and any one day is a trip in the lifetime for anyone else.
Right.
And so I've been with Geographic now for 24 years. I've been on the road for more than 30. And so it's one of those scenarios that even if I revisit somewhere I visited before, I'm very aware that other people will never get to do that.
Right.
So I wake up, glasses 3/4 full every day. Some shoots are devastatingly difficult to do. Disease in people or animals being hurt or whatever. And I go home and I cry in my hotel room that night and I have a drink or something. But I get up the next morning and I get it done again. But that bouncing around, I'm conscious that the stories I tell have to connect people with those places, but also make them value those places, all those people and those faiths, because I work under every faith.
Right.
I'm in Islam, I'm in Christianity, I'm in Buddhism, I'm in Hinduism, every animalism, I do it all. So if I'm doing a faith-based story, I want people to understand that they are the same people as you. Forget the media and all of those sorts of things. That's just so easy to get caught up in that. No, they want the same thing strip it away. They want their children to be well fed and educated and safe.
Right.
That's what everyone wants, and so I take that really quite seriously when I get to work in countries that are misunderstood.
Wonderful. Well, on that note, Jason, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
All right, Bree's got some more about the book in a second, but right now we want to talk about our movie, and it is a good one for today. It is Love Actually. You're going to squeeze in one more Christmas holiday movie before we're tired of it. Love Actually stars Hugh Grant, follows the lives of 8 different couples dealing with their love in various loosely related tales, and it's set during the frantic days before Christmas in London, so enjoy that one. It's going to be on 6 p.m. and 2 p.m. with the subtitles.
Very fun. Love that movie. And next, just a little bit of information for the book entry. We're actually going to be drawing one special winner's name on February 3rd. So you have about a month to enter our contest to win icebergs to iguanas. Please email us at lagunawoodsvillagetv@gmail.com. Include us your name and your phone number, and we'll enter you to win that contest.
All right, there we go.
Signed book.
Sounds fun. That's going to do it for this edition of This Day. For all of us here at Village Television, Bree and I hope you make this day a great one.
Bye-bye.